Today on Behind the Tune.
Whipple Stage 2. You could probably go farther with this, so I'm really happy with that. What's going on, guys? Matt at Middleton Motorsports here. Another episode of Behind the Tune. Today we have a pickup truck F-150 up in the dyno. So this is a 2021, and just like a lot of these that you see, of course, it's got some boost on it. So this truck came to us. So we did not build this truck. So this is not one of our outlaw trucks, but we took it in under our wing to do some more work to it. So it does have a Whipple on it. It's got some weld wheels on it. You can see Whipple Stage 2. And he brought it to us with some exhaust modifications already done and a check engine light on. And he had tried to do some kind of his stuff on his own. And he was losing some races at the drag strip with it, and he needed a little help. So he brought it to us, and we fixed the exhaust up on it. And I got it on the dyno, obviously, doing a custom tune on it. So we did change the pulley, so I did go to a 3.625 versus the 3.875. This also is a Gen 5 Whipple, so this is one of the older ones. This isn't the Gen 6 or even a Gen 5X. This is just the older Gen 5 from 3-4 years ago. So we're able to get away with that smaller pulley on pump gas. But he does have, so he does, when he takes it to the drag strip, he does put a little bit of 110 octane in it, which I kind of warned him about. Don't go too crazy with that because of the lead and the O2 sensors. But typically you can get away with a little bit, a couple gallons. So it is mixed. It's a pump gas, 91 octane, 110 octane mix. I'm not exactly sure how much, but I am obviously with the tune, I have to kind of keep that in mind. And I've done enough of these trucks and Coyote, Whipple Coyote stuff, obviously, to know about where they need to be on timing and fueling. So we're playing with it a little bit as far as what it's got in it now, but he doesn't want to be able to just put pump gas in it, so I got to keep that in mind on the tune. So I'm leaning on it a little bit more than I normally would if it did have 91 or 93. So just to see what it'll make. Once I'm done on the dyno, I'm probably going to pull a little bit out of the borderline even, just so it's not quite so aggressive, but I don't have it too crazy right now. HDFX is adding some timing, and I'm going to let that, that Freedom Executive kind of add some timing to it. So yeah, Stage 2 Whipple. It still has the factory exhaust manifolds on it. We did some higher flowing mods, high flow mods to the exhaust just after the manifolds. It came to us really, really loud. He had some local to him exhaust shop, used some stuff to the exhaust. And it was just kind of god-awful loud. It didn't have any sort of crossover in it. So I actually added one of those MagnaFlow mufflers, dual in, dual outs that have an X built in. Really mellowed the sound down. Sounds really good now, I think. Has a real nice truck Coyote sound to it. So otherwise nothing too crazy. We just got the pulley swap. And again, we got a little bit of 110 octane in the tank mixed in with some pump gas. So we are obviously pushing some more timing through it than we normally would. So because of that, we're seeing a little more power than we normally would out of a Stage 2 Whipple, even with the little bit of exhaust work that it's got done to it. So we are almost touching that 700 mark, which is about where I thought we'd be. Race gas doesn't do what E85 can do. As far as the timing, sure, but it still just doesn't make as much power as starting to blend in ethanol into these things. The ethanol just has that cooling effect, and you'll definitely make more power on an E85 blend with pump gas than you will with a race gas blend with pump gas. But that being said, you still can make more power with that race gas. It still raises the knock threshold quite a bit. So 12 pounds of boost, 11.5, 12 pounds of boost is what I'm seeing. Again, the Gen 5 Whipples. If this were a Gen 6 Whipple, we'd probably be seeing 14 pounds of boost with that pulley. But the Gen 5 Whipples had that older rotor design. I say older. These things keep improving greatly over the years here. So this is still a really good supercharger. But you're not going to see as much boost out of one of these Gen 5 blowers as you do a Gen 6 blower with the same pulley ratio, just because of the Whipple did make improvements to the inlet on the Gen 6 and to the rotor pack on the Gen 6. So they just are a little more efficient, and they have the ability to grab some more air at the same blower speeds. So, yeah, I'm comfortable. If this were a Gen 6 blower, I don't know that it'd be comfortable for 91 octane use with a 3.6 pulley. I know people do it out there, but there's also a lot of blown up Coyotes out there. So I don't like stuff leaving here on the ragged edge, kind of with the pin pulled on a grenade. So we're going to, but again, being a Gen 5 blower, you know, we're not pushing this thing too hard. He does drag race this thing. He has a 1/8 mile track local to him that we actually race at too. One of the guys that works here has got a no prep deal. He races up there. So pretty popular little track, cool little place to be. So he does race up there with this thing and has some competition up there and some street car stuff that he does. So, and again, because he does, when he takes it to the track, he puts a little race gas in it. I'm going to lean on it a little bit harder, just knowing that, and we're going to have a discussion when he picks it up. We already had a little discussion about the fuel over the phone, and when he comes to pick it up, we're going to sit down and have a little talk about what kind of fuel he should be running and how he's going to use the truck, and I can kind of go over with him. And I might actually even make a final revision with him once he comes and pick it up. We'll take it for a drive, and you know, I tailor the tunes to what the vehicle is going to be used for, and I know I've talked about that before. Not every vehicle is exactly the same. And that's one reason I don't do mail order tuning, because it's not, for me and what we do here, it's not cookie cutter. So everybody's uses and needs are different. So with all that being said, I know I'm rambling about it. I'm going to do one more pull on it, and we're going to hopefully crack the 700 mark. I'd really like to see it make over 700. This pull here was a pretty hot pull, kind of a back-to-back. I was just doing some kind of back-to-back pulls on it one after another to see how the HDFX system was wanting to add timing, to see how far that race gas was going to go. Because I did leave the borderline tables kind of low, and I'm allowing the MBT tables obviously to be high, and I raised the cylinder pressure limit tables up over 20 degrees. So trying to let the high freedom executive do its thing with this truck, because there's going to be this kind of variable fuel deal, and so that like the octane modifier also can add timing too, so into the borderline table. So I'm just trying to see how it wants to learn in. So I wanted to do 3-4 pulls back to back, and this is the final one I did. So the truck did cool off a little bit, maybe 10-15 minutes here. So hopefully we'll crack that 700 mark. That'd be cool to see. Yeah, we can go from there. So I'm going to set this camera down, and let's spin up another run here, and we'll take a look at the data log. All right, guys, little cool off versus that heat-soaked run, and we definitely cleared that 700 mark. Get the camera centered up here. Sorry. So 716, 562 torque. So I'm really happy with that. So obviously we're able to achieve these numbers because of that little bit of 110 octane that's in the tank. Definitely wouldn't be achieving this on even 93 octane. I think 93 octane we're probably sitting around the 650 mark. And 91, we're probably in the low 600s. Typically, that's where you're going to be on these Coyotes with the Whipple. And then that's just what it is. When you're octane limited on these engines that are 12-to-1 compression, and you start putting boost on them, and you hit the octane limit really quick. So, especially with this, this kind of boost we're seeing with these things, you typically see 12 pounds of boost. So, but when he takes it to the track, when the drag strip, he's going to be able to have this type of timing into it. Just kind of how I set the tune up. So let's jump in here and let's take a look at our data log. So boost, we'll start with that. You can see at the very top here, not even 12 pounds of boost. 180 kPa is almost 12 pounds of boost. So we're not even quite there. I think we're, if you were to calculate that out, it's like 11, maybe 11.5 or 11.7 for boost. Again, if this was a Gen 6 blower, we would be probably 195 kPa. So, you know, close to probably right around 14 pounds of boost. And that's just the nature of the newer superchargers. The latest and greatest from Whipple make more, but because this is a Gen 5, I'm comfortable with that 3.6 pulley, even, you know, even with him running pump gas and having the ability to run 93 octane. So he did say he's got a 93 octane station near him, and I'm going to highly suggest that he runs that. So timing, we kind of go to where I'm talking about, and I've talked about the HDFX system before, the high degree freedom executive that Ford uses on these late, well, actually they've been using it for over 10 years now. So it's kind of like, again, it's kind of like timing trim, if you were to call it that. It adds and subtracts timing based on knock sensor data. The Gen 3 and Gen 4 Coyotes, such as this, have 4 knock sensors all in the valley, very accurate system, very fast. These tri-core processors that these late model Fords use, very, very fast processing, Bosch processing. It's what all the European stuff uses. And it gives the ability to run kind of this timing trim like this. So we can kind of, you know, take that, we use that to our advantage. And when you're playing with fuel types and adding race gas in or E85 in, these Ford PCMs are very adaptable, and that's why you'll get on the internet and see all sorts of E30 blends. Even in the S650s before they were tunable, guys were dumping 20-30% blends in those things with Whipples on the Whipple tune and gaining, you know, 100+ horsepower at the rear tires, just adding some E85 in, because these PCMs are flexible like that. They will adjust in quite a wide range. So because of that, you can kind of take that, you can use that to your advantage when you're kind of playing with fuel types. So you can see that the knock system, the timing system I'm not really going to call it the knock system, the HDFX system is adding almost 4 degrees of timing at the top end here. That'd be over my borderline. So, and that's because of the race gas. So I got the borderline pretty low. You know, it's down, I think we can take a look here. You can see my borderline timing is set at 17.6, and so you can kind of see I'm running, you know, a little more where the boost is less down in the mid-range and the load is less. I have a little more, so I actually have it tapering down a smidge because it is building quite a bit of boost towards the top here. It's kind of starting to ramp up. I don't have the boost graphed here, but so it's kind of pulling some of the timing away as far as the actual tables, what's the tables are reading. But you can also see that the MBT, so it's going to try to drive towards the MBT there. And I have the HDFX system allowing up to 5 degrees of advance over, you know, the base timing. So, so yeah, we could probably go farther with this. I could probably raise the borderline up a little more, but you can kind of see how the timing signal is getting a little, it's kind of dirty. So it's picking up knock. So you can see where it's adding and then pulling. So we're kind of, it's trying to ride the line for sure. And sometimes I'll pay attention to that, what the actual spark line is doing. Now this was, this is only 2 pulls on this flash, and sometimes it takes a couple pulls to get this to kind of learn where it wants to be. So there's going to be it's going to kind of move around a little bit when it's learning. Air fuel ratios, kind of sticking with the kind of standard strategy. And again, this truck it came to us with this kit on it, so it had a Whipple tune in it. Obviously you can, there's kind of 2 ways to do it. You can write your own tune from scratch, or you can use Whipple's kind of base cal. This particular truck, instead of going from scratch, I'll admit it, on this truck, and I don't do it for all of them, but this truck I kind of, if you want to call it, cheated. I just read out the Whipple calibration and tuned from there. Saves a little time versus, otherwise I would have to grab our FDRS software, reflash this back to stock, which takes time, and I figured, screw it, I'll just read the Whipple calibration out on this one and go over the top of it. Because we can do that with HP Tuners. HP Tuners has defined the Whipple operating systems, so we can do that. So that is an option. And I know a lot of people do that because the Whipple calibration is written by a Ford engineer that Whipple uses, and the Whipple calibrations are a very, very good starting point. There's some room, obviously, there's some stuff left to be desired. A lot of stuff that I do personally, change stuff around versus the Whipple cal, but it saves me some time from having to put this truck back to completely stock. I'd have to do an as-built on it, and yeah, it just saved me a little bit of time. So, and when I'm tuning them from scratch, you kind of just end up where you'd be, where the Whipple, the base, kind of the basic, and I'll kind of see if I can explain this, the basic speed density model and torque model is going to be pretty much where the Whipple calibration would be anyway. I do have some of my own files that I've done on the Gen 3 and Gen 4 stuff, Coyote stuff, that I kind of know where this stuff needs to be already. And you get compared to the Whipple stuff, and it's pretty much almost the same thing. You know, where you end up is spend a whole bunch of time doing that in the past to get some base files done. And then you end up comparing them to like Whipple files when I've done this before, used a Whipple file as a base calibration. And I know you get on forums and on Facebook groups and stuff, and people talk about people stealing other tunes, and this tune is that tune, and this is from this guy. And honestly, guys, when you're talking the same engine, the same platform, the same supercharger, the same exhaust, everybody's tunes are going to be very, very similar. There's not going to be anything magically different about somebody else's tune versus, you know, when this truck makes this power and you have another truck with somebody else's tune with the same blower, the same exhaust, the same pulley ratio, it's the same exact truck. We're all going to end up in the same place pretty much. So if you know what you're doing, there's not going to be any sort of like super secret unicorn magic that somebody else is going to have over somebody else. We all are using the same softwares. Obviously there's some other guys out there that maybe have, you know, I know there's some of the tuning outfits have actual software engineers that will attack it from a WinOLS standpoint, where you're going into the binary and they have some of their custom stuff written for their programs. But again, at the end of the day, the end result is going to be very similar. You can only put so much timing and so much boost on the same setup. It's, you know, everybody's kind of figure out where the cam angles need to be. Everybody's kind of figure out where the spark needs to be. You know, I'm more conservative with stuff. A lot of people lean on stuff and blow stuff up. I don't like having, like I said, having something leave here that's a grenade ticking time bomb type of deal. So, but I thought, you know, on this one, I'll share that with you guys. I did start with the Whipple Stage 2 base calibration on this particular truck for this particular one. I don't do that on all of them. Like I said, I have some of my own base calibrations for Gen 3 and Gen 4s that I've done myself, that I've spent a lot of time writing, and it takes a long time. The first time you do a Coyote, a boosted Coyote, and add boost to a Coyote, and you don't have any file, and if you're not using a base Whipple file, you're just using the truck stock file, and you're then trying to add boost on top of it. The factory strategy is not, it's a map-based system on the trucks, but it's still not designed to have boost added to it. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in the torque model and the airflow model. All this is all algorithm based that needs to be edited, and it's pretty extensive. Cam angle model also, because you're switching, you know, you're getting rid of IMRCs. You are switching from using all 26 map points down to 13 map points. You're eliminating the IMRCs, so you're kind of remapping everything, and it takes a long time to do. You have to have some pretty extensive data logging stuff set up with filters and all sorts of stuff going on. So, but anyway, I know I'm kind of digressing here, but I'm, you know, just thought I'd talk about that on. Again, what I'm trying to do with this channel, you know, obviously we want to show you guys what we're doing here at Middleton Motorsports, but also I kind of like sharing the tuning process and maybe demystifying it a little bit. I know some people look at this and it's just a foreign language to them, but sometimes maybe somebody can kind of pick up some information from this and maybe get something from it. So anyway, back to the log here. I thought I'd just share that with you guys on this particular truck, that, you know, this was a Whipple base file. Where I was going with that was Ford, Whipple, Rao, everybody kind of uses a kind of richening up as the boost grows, or I should say rises. So typically you're going to be a little leaner down on the lower RPMs, lower loads, and richening it up towards the top as the boost increases. I kind of stick with that. I usually narrow it down so the range isn't so wide, So actually I have a Whipple comparison. So I'm actually have a Whipple comparison file loaded in the background here. And so you can kind of see how, which I change it so you can see how I do it. I usually bring the richer mixtures in quite a bit sooner. This is the Whipple base file, so you can see it's pretty lean, 3, 4, 45, not really richening up till about 5,000 RPM. I know it would make maybe a smidge more bottom end like this, but again, on a pump gas deal, we have a different pulley on it. I like bringing the fuel in earlier. Again, safety, if we lose 10 foot-pounds of torque down 3,000, 4,000 RPM, I'm okay with that because I feel like this is a safer way to do it. Fuel cools the cylinders, and the GT500s kind of have this same strategy where they richen them up as the RPM builds. And on those cars, I've done a ton of tuning on those cars, and even on just an intake, like intake header car, I've found that there's really no loss or hardly any bottom end loss. And in some cases, when you're running crappy 91 octane, there's even a little bit of a gain, richening the bottom end up a little bit in the mid-range. So just so you can kind of see how my wideband line is kind of dropping and why it's doing that. That's a pretty common strategy. Ford uses it, Whipple uses it. Yeah, so I use it. I know other tuners use it. So, and everyone does this stuff a little bit different, but like I said, the end result, ends up being pretty similar when you're talking about guys that have been tuning the Coyote platform have a lot of experience with it. So what else can we talk about here? The fueling, it's very close. So it's pulling a little bit. It is adding a smidge kind of through the mid-range. I just kind of left that, like I talked about before. So I'm talking about these short terms here. I like being within 5%. So you can see it is pulling just 5% there. 4.5, 4.7. And it kind of comes close to 0. 5,200, it starts to add a little bit, but it kind of floats right about there. 2. So that's acceptable to me. Like I said, plus or minus 5, I'm okay with. I'd rather see it pulling, but because it's only adding up to maybe 3% for very briefly, I'm okay with that. If it were adding 6, 7%, I would add some fuel in the speed density model to richen that up a smidge. But this looks really good. I'm doing these dyno pulls in 6th gear. 7th gear obviously is the 1-to-1 on the 10 speeds. It will read higher, but I'm just not. We're going 150 miles an hour already, and there's no need to be going 170 miles an hour in the dyno just to pick up another 10 or 15 horsepower. So, because again, at the end of the day, especially on a truck like this that's getting raced at the track, the horsepower numbers don't really matter. We're just using the dyno as a tool to kind of maximize the tune and dial in the specific combination to where the fueling and the timing and everything is happy and is going to make the most power safely. So the ultimate end result number, trying to race dynos doesn't really matter, especially again on a truck like this that's going to be raced. The time slip is not going to lie. The time slip's going to tell the tale. So we're just trying to optimize the combination on the dyno here. Yeah, I think that's probably pretty much it. Without, obviously, I don't get into I know sometimes I'll dive into a little bit of the tuning here, but this is kind of a straightforward deal. I'm trying to just kind of looking around here, see if there's anything else we could talk about. Yeah, obviously, compared to the Whipple tune, there's some stuff changed. I still change a bunch of the timing stuff, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. The green stuff is different from the Whipple tune, so you can see a lot of this has changed. And again, I did base this. I just read the Whipple tune out and started with it on this particular vehicle because it came to me with a Whipple tune in it. So, and typically I'll do that if I can read what's in it. I'll start there. If it's somebody else's tune, I'll sometimes read, sometimes I won't even bother. I'll just, if it's something that I really know very well and I have factory, I'll read the tune out and immediately just wipe it back to factory and start over. Again, the Whipple tunes are good bass tunes for sure. So using that as a base on this particular truck was a little faster for me. And I'm trying to get this done. It's Friday night, and he wants to come pick this truck up next week. So, and I got a whole bunch of other stuff to do, so it saves me, you know, a few hours of time. And so yeah, I think that's probably about it. There's some torque management stuff I change. So without getting too in depth and rambling further, I think that's going to wrap this video up here. So take a look at these graphs one more time. Oh, that was what I was thinking of. I wanted to talk about was RPM. That's what I was sitting there being silent just a second ago. RPM. I'm turning this thing 7,300. Obviously, we could turn it higher and keep making more power. It is starting to kind of roll off at the top there. I don't really like these Gen 4 trucks have the displacement on the variable displacement, I guess you could call it, on these trucks where they cut cylinders, and they have a little bit different valve train than the Mustangs do. I'm not comfortable turning that type of valve train much over this. Mustangs, yes, we'll go another 500 RPM over this for sure. But the truck stuff, and again, I'm sure there's guys out there doing it, turning these things to 8. From a longevity standpoint, I'm not comfortable with that. So I'm sure we could probably, you know, pick up a little more power, or even if we are leveling off up here, if we did extend the rev range, we would have a better power band on the shift recovery. But again, being a 10-speed, I did set the shift points. I did do the trans tune on it already too. Again, from the Whipple tune, I changed a whole bunch of stuff in the transmission that I like doing, that I feel makes them shift way quicker and way crisper when you're wide open throttle. That's one thing on the Whipple tunes that I don't like, is the transmission tuning is, you know, again, there's a lot of room to go. I like having the 10 speeds when you're on it just hit hard, and there's a bunch of stuff that I do to change that, so the shifts are just immediate, and there's not a whole lot of kind of lazy feeling shifting. It just hits the next gear and keeps going. So minimal timing pull, minimum throttle pull, very quick. So yeah, I did go through the trans. I'm bringing the shifts in about 7,200. The limiter's at 74. So you can see I'm taking it almost right to that 74. I think that pull was probably 73 something. So I just about touched the limiter on it. Yeah, so I think the power curve looks really nice. Obviously, when he goes back to a pump gas 93, I think we're going to probably see quite a bit of less power. Not quite a bit, but I would say probably 50 less horsepower we're going to see, because we're going to lose that 3-4 degrees of timing that the HDFX system was adding. And again, based on other trucks that I've done very similar to this, I kind of know where the timing tables need to be for regular pump gas, and that's where I have them set. We're just getting some timing added because the fuel quality is good, the octane's good. So, but he's going to race it in this state with the a little bit of race gas in there. So this is going to be a pretty accurate representation of what he's going to be, where he's going to be power-wise at the drag strip. So, thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate you guys watching our channel. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, share the video, comment. Again, I like comments, good or bad. We can take criticism, I don't care. I don't mind it. Yeah, keep checking back on our channel for more updates. I appreciate you guys watching, and we'll talk to you guys later.